Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, disruptors of all ages. Apologies for no walk this morning. We have a nor'easter here, so uh, not even the good kind. We just got a bunch of shit rain, a lot of it, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. Sorry about that. Yeah, just cold enough that it's miserable as hell, but not cold enough to give us any good snow since we haven't had any good snow this year. I'm highly disappointed. I was hoping that this was our last shot and that maybe uh, we would get, you know, a good foot of snow. Just to say, hey, I remember that it's the Northeast and there should be snow there during the winter. Um, but Mother Nature decided to snub us. I know most people are like, "What are you whining about?" But when you don't get any, and I like snow. Obviously, I don't want it every day, but enjoy I enjoy snow. We get a few good snowstorms. We've gotten none, so uh, it's just frustrating. But anyway, I heard you paint houses. Yeah, I do a little carpentry work too. Uh, Obviously, nothing to do with Sasquatch, but if any of you are familiar with the story of Frank Sheeran, um, the Irishman was the movie that Martin Scorsese made with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, quite a list of pretty incredible actors with a pretty incredible director, producer. Um, a lot of people complain about the movie. I liked it. I didn't think it was the best, but I still liked it. But the book, I started reading the book a while back, and then I put it down, and I couldn't find it, and so I downloaded it to my phone. I've been reading it piecemeal ever since. I just finished it today. Uh, Man, what a great book! The story is just crazy. Um, it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be pulled in by the lore that surrounds things like organized crime. Obviously, some pretty bad folks, uh, and then I think some some good people who unfortunately were a product of their environment. They were raised in a organized crime family. Dad was part of the mafia, or dad was part of the Irish mob, or whatever the case may be. And they get pulled back in, uh, and it's a really compelling thing. Um, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Michael Franzese. He's a former mobster for one of the largest crime families in America. He made tens of millions of dollars with a gas station scheme. Um, when you see this guy, he talk, and he's in many interviews and stuff now. Doesn't seem like a bad guy. Seems like a decent guy. Somebody that, you know, I'd sit down and have a conversation with. I'd probably go out and get dinner with him. I think a lot of these guys were that way. And then obviously there are some monsters involved in Um, but it's really interesting stuff. And this book was incredible. And obviously, what it does is it seals the deal on the Jimmy Hoffa mystery. Everybody had their theories about what happened to Hoffa. He's buried under the Meadowlands. He's somewhere in the Pine Barrens. He's buried in someone's backyard. Whatever. Everyone had all kind of theories on what happened to Hoffa. Um, and all of them seem believable because nobody really had any real evidence to the contrary. Um, from the very beginning, Frank Sheeran was considered a suspect, but um, that's it. He was just considered. There's nobody and nothing that really linked him to anything, and so they kind of had to just back off. They couldn't really do anything about it, and of course, back then, people had integrity. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but what I'm saying is, if you choose to live that life, you should choose to live that life, and when shit goes down, you keep your mouth shut. Period. That's just the way it goes. It was your choice from the beginning. Um, and so people didn't rat. Still, I mean, some people did. Obviously, that changed with the whole Kennedy thing, but it still was a thing where a lot of people still kept their mouths shut, and they did in this case. Well, some of them are dead, so that probably helps. Um, but it's just an incredible story that Hoffa was missing for so long, and people kept theorizing what happened to him, and nobody had any real answers, and blah blah blah. And then uh, Frank, like so many other people do, when they know that their time is coming up, when they have information on something, nothing and nobody is going to stop them from um, releasing that burden. And I only brought this up for this reason. This is how it ties in. You see this happen over and over again with like UFO disclosure over the years, where you'd have these former soldiers, people who were part of the Air Force, the Army. They were stationed at these bases. They were part of Roswell. They went to a UFO crash in this place, or investigated some UFO activity in this place, or Sasquatch here, dogmen there. They get on in years. They have this burden. They get to this point in life where they go, you know what? I just don't give a shit anymore. It's causing me more harm. Keeping this in, I need to get it out. And then, of course, they release it. And when you're up there in years, it's like, well, what can the government do to you? You're going to die anyway soon. They want to take you out a little early. So be it, I guess. But it's more important for these people to get this stuff out. Um, and that's what happened with Frank Sheeran. He wanted to get this out. He wanted people to know what happened. Jimmy was his best friend. Um, this goes. This speaks volumes to how much the code meant back then. That Jimmy was his best friend, but Jimmy messed up, and when it came down to it, Jimmy had to go. Right or wrong, this is the way that they lived. Um, but I just it's such an interesting story. Um, I've always been drawn to that stuff just because it's also fringe stuff. Um, it's not Sasquatch, it's not aliens, but it's still fringe society. These people don't live by the normal rules, and and so it's hard not to get drawn in to see what it's like, right? Um, I have a large, I have a good amount of criminals in my family. Um, my family in Boston. I have an uncle who was in prison for armored car robbery, um, knocked off a whole bunch of armored cars. You probably heard some of the stories. I'm sure you've heard some of the stories. It's a um, pretty famous gang of people who did that. And then my pa used to do like bookkeeping work for um, the Irish mob up there. We won't mention names, but I'm sure you probably figure out who that was at that time. And then my cousins up there are part of a 1% biker club. And so there's a lot of it, there's a lot of it in my family up there. And it's interesting stuff because like when I remember what my pa was like, he was just this little guy. He was this little sweet man. I was really young when he passed away, but I remember being in their house. I remember him hiding his booze, his bottle. I remember my Nana bouncing me on her knee and singing me this one song, dancing with a dolly all the time. And, but here was this guy who's a family man who came home, would do these things on the side. So yeah, it's just it's a really shit. What's the word? It's this duality, right? Where these people live these separate lives. They're home with their families and they're complete family people. I mean, John Gotti, by all respects, was like a great father from what they say. He was a wonderful father. Maybe not the best husband, but he was a wonderful father. As you hear so many of these people, they spend all their time with their family, everything. They do everything for their kids they can, blah, blah, blah. But then they go out and they live this other life where they do these other things. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, it's one of those things. Does it make them are they a bad person pretending to be good? Are they a good person pretending to be bad? Or is it possible to be a little of both? That's the question I was left with after reading the book. I think Frank was a little different. Frank was pretty cold and calculated, but so many others are not that way, but yet they can go out when it's time and they're asked to, and they can kill people. I think every one of us is capable of it, if you're in the right circumstance. I know that if somebody did something to harm my family, that I would probably want to do that to them. I think it's natural instinct to want to hurt somebody or get revenge if they've hurt someone you love. So is that something that is just inherently in all of us, and that it just takes one little thing to change for you to do it? Are we good pretending to be bad? Are we bad pretending to be good? Are you a little bit of both? How does it work? It's just one of those things. It's very perplexing. It's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. Like I said, my pa would go out and work for Whitey after he'd come home and have dinner and all that stuff. And I don't know, just crazy. Just had me thinking. But what a great book, man! If you haven't, yeah, the book's phenomenal. If you have a chance to read it, do it. So perfect. I've read a few others too. I read the one about the daughter of What was her name there? Shoot, the daughter. Um, I don't know if it was Sammy the Bull's daughter. I forget who. I've read Sammy the Bull's biography too, which was friggin' fantastic. That's what I mean, Linda. See, so it's this like duality of man. You have these people who are, by all respects, good folks. People, you talk to people and they say, "Oh, wonderful guy, wonderful woman. They did this, they did that. I would have never thought. Would have never thought. Would have never thought." So when people look at these mafioso and they just assume they're just terrible people, is that the case? Or I know that I know that your environment has a lot to do with what happens to you, right? I know that a lot of things are learned behavior. If you're brought up in a home and you're surrounded by mafioso your whole life, chances are you're probably going to go that route. If you're brought up in a home where your family owns a plumbing business, chances are you're going to be a plumber. So what is it? Are these bad people? Are they good people? Is there really no line between the two? Can you be both? Or are we just kind of living and situations and things that happen and environment all determine how you act in the moment? I don't know. It's crazy. It's just weird. It's hard. My pa never killed anybody. He wasn't that kind of guy, but people still look at that, what he was doing out there. He took a couple beatings himself. He had to jump out of a window of a building to get away from those guys because I guess he owed them money at one point. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Had me thinking. I'll have to check it out. Wyatt. Angel. Gotti. I'll check it out. Good morning. Good morning, ORD. Good morning. Karen. Yeah, Karen. Yep. I just think it's tricky. I think there's a lot more to it. I don't think anything is as simple and cut and dry as it's usually made out to be. And that's that book had me thinking on that, and so I just wanted to touch base real quick since we didn't go for our walk this morning. But I don't have a whole lot else other than that. I just had to go to the store and get more pet food, which is typical. I feel like I do that every freaking 3 days. Yeah, I just wanted everybody to think about it and see what you thought. Also, does anybody know a good house painter? Anybody? If you do, put their name and phone number in the comments. I might need a little house painting done and some carpentry work. All right, I'm out of here. I got to go in, take care of the pup. Love you guys. I'll check in later. Have a good one.